to give them more money. All right, so they're not going to be concerned about our $7,500 processing. Okay. What I suggest is actually getting on the phone. With the closer, or maybe having the attorney get on the phone with the closer and explain to them. Okay. In this situation, I called up the closer and I explained to him, listen, you guys are actually walking away with more money on this deal. Okay. The guy was ecstatic. He's like, wow, I don't know how that happened, but he was so happy. I chatted him up, made him laugh a little bit. All right. The bank sees that they're walking away with an extra $7,000. I mean, they're ecstatic. All right. It's a win-win situation for everyone. We got paid for selling the house. We got paid for doing the processing, which, believe me, is a lot of work. So you want to get compensated for that? Okay. The bank walked away with more money. All right. Buyer got a good deal. Everyone was happy. All right. And most of the time, as long as the bank is getting their net figure, they're not really concerned with the other fees. Sometimes you might run into that scenario, but this is a perfect case where we were able to receive compensation for that. That's why I talk about building in that fee, that buffer for yourself up front. So that was a fun deal.
How the bank would get back more money?
Okay, so originally, if you remember, they, on their closing statement, they approved $315,000. Okay? In this situation, because I created such a huge buffer, and I overestimated the cost, there was more money left over. Okay? Instead of taking all the money ourselves, we gave the bank more money. Why be greedy? There's no reason for that. There's plenty of money for everybody. Okay? And make them happy. Any other questions? I know you guys had some questions that someone's in the back.
Yeah, hi, how are you? First of all, thank you for the nice presentation, and it was very informative. So.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of information. I apologize for not taking questions right away.
It's exceptionally good presentation, so thank you. My question concerns the rehabbers / wholesalers. Our New Jersey real estate contract has one of the provisions in it as the contract is not assignable. That's right. It's written right into the real estate contract. And I've worked with 3 or 4 different investment buyers and / sellers, which look at a property, don't take possession, do a double closing, whereby they pass on the contract, not the property, are not taking ownership of the deed. There was a new ruling in terms of various lenders that required that the loan be seasoned for at least 90 days before a person can take title. And for a person who's a regular buyer taking FHA financing, they now require more than 90 days seasoning. They require that the seller own the property for a year before the buyer buying it can get FHA financing, which is now the most widely available form of financing. My question is, when dealing with a rehabber, not a rehabber, but a wholesaler, a rehabber actually takes possession, actually gives value. The problem of getting the rehabber to assign the contract is that, I'll make up an example. Let's say the property is purchased for $129,000, but its fair market value is $235,000. They might put $20,000 into repairs. They don't own it long enough, and in the title search, which will come up, as well as the tax records, the actual purchase price is mentioned. No way in 3 months have you added $100,000 in value. So now when the appraiser comes in, they can appraise it for the above purchase price until at least a year goes by of seasoning, where the property returns to the value of the comps. The property doesn't return to the value of the comps until a year goes by for seasoning. The property is worth the purchase price 3 months later, despite the comps being $100,000 more. So the fact that the property was bought at an incredible price for a cash price, its value is the purchase price 3 months later. Only a year has to go by before it seasons up to the value of the comps. How do you deal with a rehabber who wants to take possession and only own it for 3 months? How do you get the appraisal to come in at market value, or 10% below market value, if you can't get the appraisal above purchase price, which is significantly below market value, without seasoning?
Well, that's a good point. There's actually a couple of answers, a couple of good points that you brought up. Number one is you'll find a lot of these guys to try to do exactly what he just mentioned, is to double close or maybe try to flip the property right away, and it'll be very hard because there's seasoning issues. You'll find a lot of these wholesalers, they try to do these double closings, especially on short sales, and it requires a lot of effort. It requires you to get right financing, you can't do FHA, okay, it requires so much maneuvering that it's very, very tough to actually do these double closings, okay, especially if you don't have the resource of the MLS, it's very tough to even just find a qualified buyer, okay, so what I do is I tell these wholesalers, and they know that if they try doing these double closings, they'll know themselves that it's very hard to pull off, okay, they're very tough to do, and I'll explain to them, listen, we're able to do these short sales because we sell them just for commission, okay, to a regular buyer, all right? It's not a double closing, okay? We're able, if we work out an arrangement with the rehabber or the wholesaler to maybe compensate them a little bit, and we'll let them know that, listen, you may not make as much money, but our closing ratio is a lot higher because we're not trying to do all this creative maneuvering and double closing and borderline illegal activities, okay? So that's one of the main things that and they know that. If they've tried short sales at all, they know that it's very tough to pull off these double closings. And especially, the way that they make money is they have to get the property for a lot lower. All right, they have a lot of things going against them. They have to actually get the bank to approve a price that is so much lower, okay? That lowers your chances of the bank accepting the offer. We deal with retail buyers, people who are offering top dollar. Okay, we don't, we're not getting killed by these appraisers who are offering 10 cents on a dollar. All right, you have people, legitimate people. All right, and this is why I'm able to work with these guys. Okay. Another answer to your question is that if there's, typically, if the property, like you mentioned, hasn't been seasoned, okay, all right. If there were some kind of issues before where perhaps they did one of these types of closings and now it hasn't been seasoned and they can't sell the property until 6 months or a year goes by, well, that's more of, those are issues that have to do with the buyer's mortgage company, okay? If the buyer's putting down a substantial deposit, 10, 20%, there's really, seasoning might not even be a factor. If that really is a factor, well, you might have to actually end up waiting a little bit before you can do the short sale.
The problem is that a lot of these wholesalers are borrowing money at very high interest rates from private lenders and hard money lenders, and they're under pressure to sell, and they're just pushing you as a listing agent like crazy. And the problem is that you found a buyer, conventional buyer, that buyer getting traditional financing, that hard money financing, that buyer's mortgage company won't give the mortgage.
Well, here's what you want to do. You don't want to, when you work with these types of wholesalers, you don't want to develop any kind of partnership, all right? You want to get control of the deal. The only interest that they have in this is the referral fee that you might give them or the chance to possibly purchase the property. You don't actually want to list the property for one of these wholesalers who is not the owner of record, okay? You don't want to get into that type of situation, all right? They're going to push you around and they have no authority. And it decreases your chances of selling the property. So the only power that you want to give him, only interest that you want to give him is a possible, referral fee or some kind of consulting fee, or maybe the opportunity to buy the property, or the first right of refusal rather. But you don't want to work for them.
No, you only want to work them with possession and actual ownership.
Right.
Exactly.
And some banks, as far as I know, don't even allow that kind of